You will bleed time if you do not have the appropriate strategy coming into wall balls for HYROX. A proven approach can be the difference between standing on the podium or leaving the race feeling disappointed. In this video, I'm gonna talk to you about the things that I've done in the past that have moved the needle and things that I've tried that you need to completely avoid. My name is Rich Ryan. I am a 3-time HYROX Elite 15 World Championships Qualifier with a pro PR of 54.28. The first thing that you want to consider is how you're going to come into the wall balls in terms of sets and reps. So is it better to do a bigger set or to come in and have smaller chunks that you're able to execute throughout the entire duration? I've gone back and forth between this, and I've landed on, if you have the ability to do a big set, then you should do the big set. But what exactly would be considered a big set? To me, it's 50 plus. If you can come in there and knock out half of the wall balls right away, you're setting yourself up for such an easier time in the long term. But if you don't have 50 wall balls, that's just not something that's in your ability, then you should do smaller sets and reps. And having a plan during this portion so that you understand how many you can do while maintaining consistent. So that could pick any number. It really doesn't matter as long as you know that you can do it and you can rest for the same amount of time all the way through the entire set of wall balls. So it could be 25 reps, it could be 15 reps, it could be 5 reps. Whatever it is, it's better to have that plan than to come in on race day and just hope to do a big set when you don't really have the ability level to do a big set yet. Not that you can't, but you don't have it right now. So it's good to stay within your ability and count off the rest each time and stay consistent from 0 to 100. The nature of the movement makes resting feel a bit demoralizing. But as long as you can stay disciplined and stay just under your threshold for your high-end ability on the wall balls, then you're going to be okay no matter what your plan is, as long as you understand where that threshold is and you stay disciplined when it comes to your rest. Generally, when we've been taught how to squat, there is a maneuver called the Valsalva maneuver. That is a big deep breath in and pressing out into your ribs to create internal pressure and stability as you're squatting. Now this is almost required for moving heavy loads. And because we take the squat pattern from moving heavy into something like wall balls, we end up having the same type of breathing pattern where it's a breathe in, a squat, and then a breathe out at the top. So one thing that I recommend that you do is play around with the breathing sequence to make sure that what you're doing is optimal and to not just like fall into these patterns because that's the way you think that they should be. So really what I would recommend is completely flipping it. Something that's been very helpful for me is being able to breathe throughout the entire motion of the wall ball and not holding my breath and constricting my midsection that's going to just restrict blood flow and reduce the amount of CO2 that I'm able to expel and the amount of oxygen that I'm able to bring in. So if you can breathe throughout the entire range of motion of this movement, it's going to make for a much better experience. So next time, try this. As you're releasing the ball, breathe out. So, and then as you catch the ball, breathe in. When you flip the breathing pattern, you'll actually see that you can breathe throughout the entire time. And when you breathe unloaded, you're just gonna be able to get more oxygen in. And if you can exhale on your way down, you're just going to be in a better rhythm. And it's just going to reduce the amount of stress that you start to feel emotionally and mentally because your ventilation rate isn't going to jump incredibly high right away. So being able to flip that breathing pattern and having it be much more natural and kind of easy is something you need to play around with in training if you want to make sure that what you're doing during the wall balls is actually optimal for you. It's natural when doing the wall balls to toss the ball up and just hold your arms up over your head and wait for the ball to come back to you. I would recommend not doing this and bringing your arms down or back so that you can improve the blood flow into these extremities and help with the lactic acid that is going to build up in your shoulders. If blood can't pump into those areas, we're gonna have a harder time clearing that. And that's when that feeling of the kind of shoulder burn ends up happening. So as you're going through your wall balls, I do recommend throwing it and either dropping your arms down as low as they can, swinging your arms out and around to help improve that blood flow and to bring your arms down a little bit, and to get back into a catch position, which is just underneath your chin. You don't need to catch the ball up over your head. You just need to catch the ball in the proper position. So once you throw it, you can put your arms right back in that position or drop them quickly and get them back to underneath your chin and to help guide that ball directly where it needs to go. Now, oftentimes when the women are competing, the target's a little bit lower, so the ball comes back a little bit faster. So being able to drop your arms and then bring it back up is a bit of a challenge. Something I've seen athletes do is bring your arms up and kind of drop them back this way so that you're not dropping them all the way down to your hips, that it just kind of comes down behind, and then you can catch the ball back in that under chin position. Once you're proficient in the movement of wall balls, then you can start to work on how fast you're moving through them. When I first started doing wall balls in training, I didn't realize that there was a cadence element to wall balls. I just thought you just did them and everybody was kind of the same, and it was a matter of who didn't break first. But really, the cadence in which you drop down and pop back up is going to make an incredible difference for how long you're under load and for how long it takes you to do the whole set. So working on a fast descent is very important when it comes to maximizing your ability to do wall balls. So I would recommend practicing dropping into the squat position even before the ball gets there. At first, there's going to be a strength and stability issue that you're going to have and a bit of a speed issue. But if your mobility is strong and your positional awareness is really good, that you start to drop down, you can have the ability to go faster. Now, during the race, you might not want to do this because it's going to ramp up your cadence and potentially make you more tired. But it's nice to have that and to create kind of gears for yourself. Being able to do speed work is just going to help your ability to go faster. So working on your cadence in that squat is very helpful. Outside of the actual tactics, what I like to do is think about some sort of visualization that is going to help me move through the wall balls. During the station, it's hard because there is no forward movement. Pretty much with every other station in HYROX, we're able to either see the pace move forward while on the machines, or there's actual movement that helps break up what's happening in a station, so that we're not sitting there thinking about the number of reps, we're thinking about the amount of space that we're covering, which is just more helpful from a mental standpoint than sitting there and doing 100. When you really break things out, the amount of reps that you're doing on wall balls isn't that much different than the amount of reps that you're doing in any of the other stations that we can really account for. So the strokes on the ski, the strokes on the row, the amount of lunges that we're doing, they're all right around 100 or even more. So coming into wall balls, the number of 100 shouldn't really be that daunting, but there's no movement to help us break up the actual station. So I like to visualize this movement, and you can do this in many different ways. But the way I like to do it as a runner who spent hours and hours and hours doing laps on a track, I break down my progress like I'm running on a track. So every 10 reps, I visualize myself completing 100 meters. And every rep I do after that, I'm completing some 10 meters, 20 meters, 50 meters on the track as I'm going through each rep. So by the time I get to 60, it's like, oh, I just have 40 left, which is 400 meters. And I know that I can always do 400 meters on a track. I will never stop in my last 400 or my last 200. So having this mental reframe and visually watching myself cover distance is really helpful when it comes to breaking out the chunks of work needed to do on the wall balls. So for you, it doesn't necessarily have to be that. If you're not that familiar with the track, it could be lengths of carpet on the actual race course. It could be whatever you want it to be. It could just be a meter moving. It could be anything that in your head signifies progress. So I'd really recommend some kind of visualization to help you move that needle forward. And finally, this really is the most important part to your race success when it comes to wall balls. It's the pacing of the race itself. So as a runner, I like to think of things in distance running terminology. And this is not that much different than any given distance running event. In a distance event, a kick is where you start to kind of go a little bit faster, go a little bit harder from a certain point until the finish. So as we kick in an endurance event, it's usually going to be from 1 to 2 minutes out from the finish. That seems to be the amount that is doable to kind of hold and sustain. A monster kick is about 5 minutes out. So if we take the time domain and move that into HYROX, really we're not even kicking until we get to the wall balls. And from this perspective, we should have some juice coming into the wall balls. Too often, athletes are just attacking the race from the start into the middle, and at the end, they're just hanging on, or they're bleeding time. And this happens on the lunges and the wall balls. So you come into there and you're just hoping you can finish. There is no kick, there is no more energy, and you do not get the result that you want. And this is why the variance is so wide. It's not that one person's ability to do wall balls is better than another person's ability to do wall balls. It's just that some people are just timing it better and are having more success with the duration of the race. So I would recommend giving back 2 minutes on the course of your effort so you can come into wall balls and gain 2.5, right? And it's hard to do in the moment because you want to maximize that. But if it's all gonna come back at the end, then it doesn't even matter what you did before. So making sure that your pacing is on point so you can come into the wall balls with a little bit left is the best bet. So these are my main tips when it comes to strategy for wall balls and HYROX. If you don't have a strategy, make one. Take some of these pieces, make sure that you're doing everything in your ability, not just to physically prepare, but to mentally prepare. Both of those aspects need to be accounted for if you want to come into this race and do the best that you possibly can. And if you're not wanting to do the best that you possibly can, I don't know why you're doing this in the first place.